Welcome to the Big Four Accounting Firms podcast, brought to you by big4accountingfirms.com and the Big Four Accounting Firms YouTube channel. Before we get started, just wanted to remind everybody to support us if you have a chance or if you can. Even $1 helps, and we have a link in the description to a website called Buy Me a Coffee. It's just a way to donate to us and support us. Again, any amount is helpful so that we can keep putting out content. And there's also other ways for you to support us in the show notes to this podcast or on YouTube in the description. In today's podcast, we're going to talk about E&Y, a couple of news stories about E&Y. Yesterday was tax day in the United States where individual taxes were due, but also it was anti-homophobia, anti-transphobia, and anti-biphobia day, and E&Y tried to take advantage of that. I'm not sure why they would try doing that and try getting themselves canceled, but they sure as heck tried, and I believe they deleted this tweet. But it was reported that they tweeted out a poll, and the poll said, "What is the principal reason why LGBT plus inclusion is important for your business?" And I mean, people lashed back on them for good reason, because they're acting like LGBT plus people are commodities, and they're asking people, like, what's the advantage to doing this? Like, what's the advantage for you to be inclusive of them? And I mean, this shouldn't surprise people. I've been saying this for a long time, because the Big Four accounting firms, they just latch on to whatever global initiatives there are right now. It's climate change, racism, and equity. And they're not doing that because they care, because they would have done it a long time ago if that was the case. Number one, they would have done it a long time ago if that was the case. Number two, more of their leadership would be of these diverse groups that they claim to support. And point in case, yesterday, Carmen DeCibio, who's like the CEO of E&Y, he did a webcast about this, or a little webcast on Twitter, because I'm looking at a lot of this on Twitter. And just point in case is they had a chance to put somebody more diverse into their CEO position, but they did not, E&Y. And not just E&Y, it's also PwC and KPMG also had the opportunity to put somebody more diverse. And even PwC to this day, you have Tim Ryan at PwC, who's constantly talking about how he's gathering signatures for CEO action. Meanwhile, he has two perfectly good candidates below him that can take the CEO position in Roy Weathers and the leader of the advisory practice, who published an article like in Forbes the other day, was really good, the advisory practice. So I think, I mean, the Big Four are just using this as an opportunity to sell more work. And I think that's why they used it as a poll, because they want to take the results of that poll and offer it to their clients as an advisory position, as a way to publish it in press releases. And I mean, the Big Four have to be careful in this area, because I think they are tone deaf from that respect, and they need to pay more attention, because this is something that can really cause them some risk, really lose them a lot of business as we see boycotts becoming more and more regular. So they need to be careful. I understand that they need to have a voice in this area, and that's what they feel like, but they need to be careful, and they need to keep an eye on the people that they hire, because a lot of the people that are hired in this area do not have professional designations, do not have real backgrounds. They're just sort of self-appointed specialists in diversity measures, and sometimes, because I think what happened here was that this was a copy paste, because there's a lot of these awareness days for various things. And I think if you take out LGBT plus inclusion from this quote and plug in some other thing, I think that's how this occurred, because otherwise it doesn't make any sense. When I was in the Big Four and you write a memo, you get more scrutiny over less important sentences than this tweet got. So you can tell there's not a real chain of command here. It's really one person, or maybe two, or maybe a couple people that are reviewing these or writing and reviewing these tweets. And the big four accounting firms, they should pay me a lot of money to tell them what to do here. I mean, not write the tweets for them, but just to be careful because they're going to get canceled over this type of stuff. And EY just tried to. They got lucky that not many people even understand what the accounting firms are. Otherwise, I think this would be a bigger deal. But I think the big four accounting firms have to be more careful in this area. I understand they're trying to get out ahead of stuff to make money off of it, but they have to realize that they have to be sensitive and they can't just approach it from commoditizing news stories, because I think that's what they're trying to do. That's what they're used to doing. And man, that kind of goes to my next point. So E&Y today is also hosting a blockchain summit. And I mean, the big four accounting firms are taking advantage of the growing crypto craze. And I think in this case, it makes sense. Taking advantage of crypto and blockchain. And we've spoken a lot about this recently, but today it starts the E&Y blockchain summit. Today is day one. It'll be strategy and vision. And it's a 4-day event. There's going to be things about financial services, technology, privacy, and scalability. So I encourage people to take a look at that. They make it kind of hard to register for these events because they want you to be working for a company, but you can just plug in the information there and you can attend the event if you want. And if you can't get in, then I mean, they're going to have like a recap at some point. So you can take a look at that. Or there was a recap from a one a year ago, and they'll have a recap of this one. So you can take a look at that. But you can see E&Y is taking advantage of news stories, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. And they're doing a good job on the blockchain just to be out ahead of that and holding summit. I think Coinbase is going to have a summit pretty soon. So as crypto is growing, as there's more people investing in crypto, even though Elon Musk has kind of destroyed that area for now, or lost people a lot of money in that area. It's growing, and we've seen KPMG take advantage of it with partnering with Coinmetrics. We see E&Y holding the global summit, and there's just more to come in this area. So 2 news stories today out of E&Y that I thought were interesting and areas to keep an eye on. So that's the update for today. Stay up to date. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast. Support us financially through the Buy Me a Coffee link if you can, and if you can't, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for listening.